Well, you may recall that Harry and Meghan, the favourite friends of this show, have spent years trashing the royals as a bunch of cruel, privileged racists trapped in a terrible prison of an institution. So imagine our surprise when a spokesperson for the couple confirmed via People magazine that Princess Lilibet Diana had been christened. Why would they use a title for their children that represents an institution they loathe so much? Well, joining me now to discuss all this is author and historian Tessa Dunlop, royal editor of the Daily Mirror, Russell Myers, and Michael Coles remain with, because, of course, he was the BBC's voice of royalty for 2 decades, as he reminded us. All right, Russell Myers, I don't get this.
No.
Because I was sure that they kept telling the world how ghastly the monarchy is. It's a prison camp. All the royals want to get away from it, but they can't because they're trapped in the world of titles and privilege. And now they want to give their kids the titles of prince and princess, even though they don't live anywhere near the royal family. They don't do any duties. They do nothing to deserve it. They live in a mansion in Montecito in California and use their own royal titles to make loads of money, which may be the clue to why they want their kids to have them.
Yeah, I think you pretty much summed it up for a lot of people. They're seeing this hypocrisy being played out. It's like a soap opera, isn't it? That something out of an EastEnders script. And Harry and Meghan have made an awful lot of money and an awful lot of noise over the last couple of years by telling everybody how awful the monarchy is, and the monarchy that they left behind. Indeed, Harry and Meghan wanted a half-in, half-out model. The Queen said that they couldn't, and so yeah, it's very, very surprising that they should want this.
Well, you say surprising. I would say, Tessa Dunlop, rank hypocrisy yet again from these two.
Russell's so polite. First time on the show agreeing with you. You wait, he'll turn the screws in a minute. I would like to suggest that Harry and Meghan is a bit like criticising the police force. I often criticise the Met Police. My uncle was a commissioner in the Met Police. Doesn't mean that I don't believe in having a police force. You can criticise the monarchy and say, here are the fault lines, and do it clumsily.
But why would they want to inflict on their children royal titles that make them part of the royal family worldwide and expose them to the misery and pain and trauma which Harry tells us he suffers on an hourly basis, normally for large cheques, by the way?
Because isn't it very clear they've left the rigid institution?
Yes, so why do they want the titles?
Institution, and they're going and they've got monarchy light, Atlantic style. That's what they've done.
Why do they want the titles? I don't understand.
Well, you do understand. You
Tell
need
me
me to
why.
spell it out for you. Well, a couple of reasons. One is, there's cachet.
Oh, cash,
the
you mean?
pricelessness.
There's cash.
Yeah, in the slippery
cachet
world.
and cash.
Oh, come on, Piers.
Because we all know Harry and Meghan, as Harry and Meghan, would be making a lot less money if they weren't the Duke and Duchess of Sussex,
they are.
which goes on every statement they ever make.
I just want to share something with Michael and Russell, and this is an epiphany I had today when thinking about Piers. I do occasionally think about you off screen.
I bet you never stop.
I've come to the conclusion that although you sit there night after night professing to be a monarchist, you're not deep down.
I am.
No, because the whole point is, with the system of hereditary monarchy, you can't choose the loons and losers that get born with the right to be princess and prince. No, you can't choose them.
Michael Cole.
You can't.
Michael Cole.
It's all very odd. It's pick and mix, isn't it? We want the trappings.
Yes,
we want the
it's royal
titles.
cake and eat
We
it.
don't want the duty. We don't want the hard work. This is all very, very odd, because legally they became, Archie and Lilibet, became Prince and Princess. At the moment, Her Majesty the Queen died on the 8th of September and King Charles took over. Because by the lattice patent drawn by King George V in 1917, grandchildren of a reigning monarch become automatically Prince and
this
Princess.
was what Meghan Markle was struggling to remember in her Oprah wine-a-thon, when she claimed the only reason Archie hadn't been already made a prince was because of his skin colour. It turned out she just didn't understand.
Okay.
No, I'm asking Michael, because he knows about these things.
Of course.
About how the system actually works. There was no racism.
No, none at all, and that was actually quite shameful, what was said at that time.
Well, let's remember what she said. This is what she told 50 million people around the world. Watch this.
I do recall it and regret it.
It's worth reminding.
The idea of the first member of color in this family not being titled in the same way that other grandchildren would be. It's not their right to take it away.
It was a complete... Hang on, Tessa. It was a complete lie.
Appalling ignorance. Appalling ignorance, and also used in a very, very nasty way to attack people who couldn't answer back.
Yes, and brand them a bunch of racists when they weren't.
Racism is a terrible accusation to make, because it's easy to make.
Well, once thrown, it sticks on people.
Impossible to prove.
Tessa, you're seething. Why?
No, I'm not seething.
You've just heard her lying.
But I think that the key we need to pick up on there is the word ignorance. Michael, esteemed former BBC journalist, 80 years he's been walking on this planet, absorbing ideas of hereditary monarchy and the British Constitution. Meghan...
You're not 80, are you?
On Monday, I was
Are
80.
you, are you serious?
I'm sorry.
Michael Cole, you look unbelievable for 80. Really?
Yes, I was.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
And congratulations on being...
That's how I knew Lord
You're like
Grey
a Benjamin
was
Button,
80
former
yesterday.
BBC correspondent. OK, Russ, let's bring this back to the thing. The ongoing thing is, are they going to come to the coronation? They, through their little lickspittle, Omid Scobie, he said that apparently they invited all the royals to Lilibet's christening, but they all declined to come, as if they're all going to get on a plane and fly to California to embrace the people who've been trashing them for the last 3 years. But it looks like from the jungle drums, they have been invited to the coronation, right?
Yeah.
Now, they're holding it out to make it all about them, make it a big drama. So do you think they're actually going to come?
I do now, yeah. I think because it's their currency, isn't it? They've made an awful lot of money, and again, this they're taxed by having that association with the royal family.
It's the cachet and cash.
You mentioned sort of, the favoured journalists that they were briefing in the first instance that they weren't going to have titles, and now there's another screeching U-turn. We already had one of the U-turns about the racism element within the royal family that Prince William was forced to deny.
Michael, you want to jump in?
That wasn't right.
I was going to say,
and this is another example.
Yes, I totally agree.
His Majesty the King has played a blinder in all this because he let it be known from the very outset that they were welcome to come, Meghan and Harry, to the coronation, putting the ball firmly in their court. If they decline, it will make them look small-minded, petty, mean-minded, and if they accept, they will make them look open the door to hypocrisy.
You know what I'd do? I'd make them sit in the 10th row, right behind Prince Andrew. When the world's cameras get beamed on them, all they see is their little heads peering around Andrew.
Piers, that isn't going to happen. I mean, because the King has spoken about unity and togetherness.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think he would be as churlish as to not invite them.
You
he won't be as churlish.
I actually think he shouldn't have invited them. Why would you invite a couple of ratbags who've been attacking every member of your family in such a poison? I'm just saying what I would have done. If that was people in my family, I wouldn't want them anywhere near my coronation, which, by the way, can only be a matter of time.
Yeah, but you make the point there. All you have to do is one of your offspring marry into the royal family, and hey presto, the Morgans get a little tinge of monarchy. That is how unbelievably mad the system of hereditary monarchy is. We all get fat chewing the fat of this story. But the problem you have, Piers, is you like the system when it works, but you don't like it when it doesn't. And Harry is an example of it not working.
No. You completely misrepresent what I think about the monarchy. My mother camped on the Mall for both Diana and Fergie's weddings, right? We grew up, we ran a country pub in East Sussex. Well, I remember this 1977 Silver Jubilee, the street parties and everything else. It was fantastic. So I grew up as a...
That's when it's working.
Hang on. No, it wasn't working even then. Right? There's always been chaos and carnage in the royal family. You know, when I was a newspaper editor, barely a week went by without some new scandal. That's not the point. The distinction with these two is they have openly attacked the institution of the monarchy. Diana didn't do that. Fergie didn't do that. They have unloaded on the institution being a prison camp that no one can escape from. Why then would they call their kids Prince and Princess?
I was 10 at the last coronation. You haven't asked me to guess, Piers, but I'm going to guess what will happen.
Go on.
May the 6th is Archie's birthday.
Yeah.
I rather fancy that she will stay behind and have a birthday party in California, and he will come, particularly as 3 days later, he's due to be the star witness in a very contentious case that's going to be opened against Mirror Group newspapers, and he's going to go into the witness box. Well, that is going to come after the Lord Mayor's show. We know what happens. After the coronation, we've got a court case.
No, Harry, as we know, is very concerned about privacy. On that bombshell, we'll leave it. But yes, this is going to be an interesting month. Lovely to see you, Michael. Lovely to see you, Tessa. Great to see you.
Pleasure.
Thank you all very much indeed.
All right, Fox News alert. President Biden is set to speak at the top of the hour before the U.S. stock market opens. All as Wall Street braces for the fallout of two failed banks. The collapse of Silicon Valley Bank being felt around the world as the bank's British arm has been now purchased by HSBC Holdings for the price of £1. UK native and host of Piers Morgan Uncensored on Fox Nation. Piers Morgan is here to react. So, Piers, what's your reaction to this? Are we in trouble?
Well, first of all, I like being called a UK native. Makes me sound quite intriguing, so thank you for that. Look, I think the UK has moved pretty quickly here, actually. They had the benefit of a weekend to sort this out. They've moved in quickly. The Treasury, the Prime Minister, they persuaded HSBC to buy it for £1, $1.20, and that seems to have calmed things temporarily. I guess the real question was twofold, isn't it? Is any taxpayer money anywhere in the UK, US, anywhere else going to have to be used to try and bail out this crisis? I think the answer from most of the public, most of the taxpayers, is absolutely not. So I think the administrations both in the US and UK are very mindful of that. But secondly, what's the ripple effect going to be? How many other small banks, possibly mid to larger banks, may be in trouble if this carries on? So these are testing times for both Joe Biden and for Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister here.
Yeah, everybody is worried about that ripple effect. I want to get your comment on another topic. So apparently Prince Archie and Prince Lilibet reportedly have been excluded from their grandfather's King Charles' coronation. And also Prince Andrew is upset that he hasn't received any of the Queen's almost $800 million fortune. First, your reaction to the grandchildren not being invited.
Well, you know, Lawrence, we used to watch Dallas and Dynasty over here in the UK, and we used to think, God, these people are so ridiculous. They're rich, they're entitled, they're spoiled. There's always a drama. Now we have our royal family, and they're behaving exactly the same way. And I think we're all probably like you, getting a little bit tired of the Meghan and Harry rodeo, which seems to try and make everything the royals do about them. Now, let's be clear. Archie is 3 years old. Lilibet is 1. They're way too young, in my estimation, having had 4 kids, to be stuck in an abbey watching a coronation bang on for hours on end. So I think it would be ridiculous for them to be there, especially having flown all the way from California with all the jet lag. But what we know about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex is they will always want to have as much airtime around the real royals, the A-listers that they can get, so that they can make money off the back of it. We've seen that with the Netflix documentary, the book, and so on. So I suspect Meghan and Harry will want their kids there simply because it shows their own expanded, titled, royal rival family.
Well, I tell you this, Piers, I'm from Dallas. I mean, this drama right here supersedes it, and this is real life. What about Prince Andrew? And his approval rating is higher, and he's the one that's, you know, sexually assaulted women, higher than the Markles. And I say the Markles because he might as well have her last name.
I actually like calling them the Markles. I'm actually from Sussex, which is a county in England. I object to them being called the Duke and Duchess of Sussex because I've spent more time in Sussex this weekend than they have ever spent in their entire lives. So I want those titles removed. I don't understand also why Meghan and Harry, the Markles, I love that title, well done, Norris. Why do the Markles want to give their kids these titles? Have they got permission from their children? No. I thought they said the monarchy was a ghastly prison camp run by callous rapists. Why would they want their kids to have these titles? So you then come to Prince Andrew, who is incredibly more popular than the Markles in America right now. He wants his late mother's money. Well, of course he does, because he's had to give most of his own money away to a woman he claims he never met, who made allegations of sexual assault against him. So the whole thing, like you say, and like I pointed out, makes Dallas look like a tea party, and we're still, weeks away from the coronation. By the time May 6th comes, all hell will be breaking loose.
You know, Pierce, I've never been to a tea party. You got to invite me up there sometime. I wore a double-breasted suit. You might as well invite me for the tea, too, brother.
We tend to avoid tea parties when it comes to Britain and America for obvious reasons. It didn't go well.
Thank you, Piers. Make sure to watch Piers Morgan Uncensored on Fox Nation weekdays at 4:30.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
For folks who don't understand, like, how that even materialized in the first place, you have sort of an insider view on who Meghan Markle is. And the reason that she's relevant is for 2 reasons. One, because she really will not just leave and take the privacy she so desperately apparently wants, and she just won't take it. That's one reason. The other is that she is sort of emblematic of both a woke generation and an attention-seeking generation. She is kind of the TikTok generation, but kind of morphed into one human being. And so when people look at her, there's some people in the United States still who are kind of warm to her claims of victimhood and this idea that she's being very emotionally open. And there are other people looking at her and like, this is the most bratty person I've ever seen in my entire life. But you have some actual personal experiences that led up to
I knew her a bit before she met Harry, and she seemed perfectly normal, albeit like most LA actresses I'd met, but she seemed fine, perfectly normal. And there was a weird series of events. One was the wedding, where she suddenly fell out spectacularly with her father, who we now know had brought her up on his own for quite a few years, actually. And she sort of disowned him, and that all seemed a bit sort of brutal and weird because he was just a guy out of his depth, couldn't handle the media, he was being bothered by paparazzi. Eventually did a deal with one of them where he would pose for good pictures of himself, and that was it. So that was all going on. And we were thinking, well, hang on, this is a bit weird. And then in the months and months after the wedding, you suddenly saw the pair of them morph from a beloved couple. I mean, they were. When they got married, it was a huge celebration in the UK. £32 million worth of taxpayer money was spent, and nobody begrudged them. She was the first biracial bride in the royal family. That was a big moment for a very multicultural country like the UK. And all the headlines were pretty euphoric, actually, contrary to the narrative they're now trying to make people in America think about what was happening. But then over the next few months, just a series of, well, you could call them missteps, or you could call them classic examples of brazen woke hypocrisy. Two people wanting to position themselves, for example, as eco-warriors. We want you to all watch your carbon footprint. They would say this in speeches. And then they'd catch Elton John's private plane like a taxi service. Or she would preach about poverty in a tweet from their royal Twitter account on the same day she had a $500,000 baby shower in New York, here, with a bunch of celebrities, and flew back on Amal Clooney's plane. And so this went on, and it was one after another. And because of the hypocrisy element, the British media in particular were very critical, very scathing, saying, hang on a second, you don't get all the palaces and the servants and the privileged life for this, right? You have to toe the line, you have to do the job, which involves often quite dreary duty as a member of the royal family, but you get to be one of the biggest stars in the world on the global stage in return. She, in particular, didn't seem to understand this. She thought that actually being a member of the royal family was wearing a tiara, getting a fabulous wedding, and then doing what the hell you like. So they began to just do a load of stuff which annoyed people, and they got the criticism, in my estimation, they thoroughly deserved. And at that point, they developed this victim narrative that they were terrible victims of this brutal, racist British media and the horrible British people who were all turning on them for no reason. But it really wasn't like that. And so over time, Harry's inbuilt hatred of the media, which goes back to when his mother died, and I knew his mother very well, that all began to blow up again, as did his resentment of his family and the fact that William, his older brother, is the heir to the throne and he isn't. So William will be king, Harry won't. And then you put it all together and then you get Megxit, where they leave the country, they leave the royal family, and they wanted to have their royal cake and eat it. They wanted to stay half in, half out, do the good stuff, get all the trinkets, make all the money out of it, but not have to do any of the duty. And that was where you get to the place of the kind of chasm between them as a royal renegade family and the monarchy and the British royal family left behind. And now you have them doing a Netflix series about their life, incredibly self-intrusive, the most gossipy royal book that's ever been published, including accounts of Harry's conversations with his father and his brother at Prince Philip's funeral service. I mean, quite extraordinary. And you just see a pair of people earning a ton of money purely by trading off trashing their family and trashing the institution of the monarchy, which afforded them their royal titles, which make them the money. And to your point in the question, they've come to kind of encapsulate that mentality of the woke brigade, this sense of entitlement, self-righteousness. We're right, you're wrong. We don't have to play by our own rules, only you have to. And it's all pretty grubby and tawdry. And they've now ended up as a South Park, mockathon, which has got us all rolling in the aisles and probably reflects where they've now got themselves, which is they're a global laughingstock.
So one of the things that Prince Harry has been hanging his hat on in terms of his critique has been, as you mentioned, the media. And for Americans who don't follow the media over in Britain, I'm one of them. I didn't spend a lot of time with the British media, as evident from my obviously amazing interview with Andrew Neil, where I had no clue who he was. Why don't you introduce us to sort of the British media scene? Because it is a very rough and tumble place in a way that I don't think that the American media is quite the same kind of beast.
I'm not so sure. I think what's different about America is you don't have the volume of national newspapers all concentrated in quite a small geographic space. So, you can drive through Texas in the time it would take you to drive from one end of the UK to the other, and you still have time to spare. So to put the size perspective out there, that's the difference. So you have state newspapers, you have city newspapers, town newspapers. You've got a few national papers, but not as many. We have like 12, 13 national newspapers all scrapping for the same 60-odd million inhabitants of the United Kingdom. So it's a bit more intense, I would say, is the main difference. I think when it comes to the royals, the media are the royals' best friend and their toughest critics. We're their best friend collectively, because without the media oxygen, this royal family and monarchy would go the same way of most other European monarchies. They would just disappear into oblivion. They need the support of the people. The people's support is reflected through the media. It's a connection between the three things: the public, and the royal family and the media, and all three basically fuel each other. So I felt that Harry's view of the media was completely clouded by the death of his mother. I completely understand that. I've always said that. His mother was killed by a drunk driver in a French tunnel, not by the paparazzi, who were more than 1,000 yards behind them when it happened. They didn't cause the accident. But his mother was constantly pursued by the paparazzi, and he saw this, and he blames the paparazzi for killing his mother, and therefore he blames the media, even though they weren't British paparazzi, actually. So he has this fixated hatred of the British media. Everything is the media's fault. And when you watch the interviews he gave with his book, it was almost comical. When they both went on Oprah Winfrey and accused the royal family directly of being racist, we all saw them do it. They basically said a member of the royal family expressed concern about the skin color of their baby. That's an allegation of racism, inarguably. And yet, 2 years later, Harry promoting his book, he didn't put it in the book, this incredible revelation, which caused so much damage. And he then says, well, we didn't say they were racist. It was the media, British tabloids. Completely deluded. Obviously, it was from him and his wife on global television. So there's a delusion there. I think he's not the brightest bulb in the tulip patch, Harry, to put it politely. I think she is very manipulative. Meghan Markle is someone who's basically got rid of almost her entire family on her side, apart from her mother, her entire family on the father's side, including her father, which is incredibly sad. And now she's wrestled Harry away from his family. So how happy they really are in this mansion in California when they have no connection now with any of their family, bar one or two people, I find it very hard to believe that makes anybody happy. So it's at one level it's sad. Another level, it makes me quite angry, the damage they've caused to the monarchy. I think most British people are sick and tired of them. The polling has them now below Prince Andrew, which I didn't think would be humanly possible. So, it's a mess. And you've got the coronation coming. It should be an enormous moment in British history because we haven't had a coronation in my lifetime. The Queen, of course, reigned for over 70 years. So it should be a moment of great celebration, but what's going to happen if these two are there with their Netflix cameras in tow? It's going to be just another part of the Meghan and Harry circus. So a lot of anger back home about this. Interesting to be in America again and feel the reaction to the South Park mockumentary. I'm sorry, Ernest Owens. I do beg your pardon. Ernest Owens, thank you very much indeed for joining me. And now, I don't know much about you, other than you wrote a piece last week for Rolling Stone magazine saying cancel culture is good for democracy. So I'm going to come to that ludicrous premise in a minute. But I also remember you tweeting when I left Good Morning Britain, a series of tweets calling me a racist, including enjoying how folks keep getting Piers Morgan together for his racist tirades against Meghan Markle on Good Morning Britain. I was just curious, could you remember a single racist thing that I said about her or have ever said about her?
Well, thank you for having me on, Pierce. I was surprised when I found out I would be on your show.
We're an uncensored show, Ernest. We take all types on here.
Well, all types. Well, there you go. But I think really a lot of it just seemed to be biased. I think that you was really just harsh on the Duchess of Sussex. And I think there was a little bit of bias in the way that you had really gone after her.
Yeah, but Ernest, to be clear, I didn't ask you about that. I just said, what were the racist tirades? What racist thing have I ever said about Meghan Markle? I'm curious. You tweeted quite a few times that I was a racist. I'm just curious, what was the racism?
No, I said your remarks. I said your remarks was racist. I didn't say verbatim.
What were the remarks that were racist?
I think that it's biased. I think that you had a sense of bias of how you were speaking about her and how you was really being insensitive to her mental health.
Sorry,
and how you being biased a lot of her concerns.
Being biased or sceptical of some of her claims is not the same as being racist. What was the thing I said that was racist?
No, I never. Hold on. Do you want the person of color to speak, or do you want to just talk over me?
Nothing to do with your skin colour, Ernest. Sorry, nothing to do with your skin colour. I don't care if you're black or white or anything else. I just want you to try and tell me, given you tweeted to your many followers repeatedly.
Are you going to let me talk,
by the
or are
way,
you just going to keep
repeatedly. You did this repeatedly. You have called me a racist repeatedly for racist things I've said about Meghan Markle.
I said you made racist remarks. I did not call you racist.
To stand by what you tweeted. What was it I said about Meghan Markle?
I am. Would you let me talk?
Ever that's been racist?
Are you going to let me talk, or are you just going to overtalk me?
Just answer the question. Stop answering different questions.
That's microaggression. You're asking a black person to explain how what you did could be perceived as racist, and rather than let me finish talking, you're over-talking me and being highly defensive.
Am I being racist
so I feel
again,
like a kid dog is hollering right now.
Am I being racist again?
You're being dismissive. Can I actually talk? Or
Maybe because you're not answering the question,
what's the point of you on the show? Okay, so can I answer the question?
Yes, you can. Please do.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So your targeting of Meghan Markle's mental health, gaslighting her specifically, calling to question the legitimacy of her claims about the royal family being racist, you dismissing those claims, you consistently having a sense of badgering her and targeting her, it's felt like on my end that there was some racial bias there. Now, you may feel like it's not. Maybe it's sexism. Maybe it's misogynoir. Maybe it's a combination of both her gender and her race. But it was perceived by thousands of people. 57,000 people had called Good Morning Britain about some of your behavior.
No, you see, you've got to be very careful, Ernest.
Mischaracterizing the situation on Fox.
Ernest,
you act like it's just Meghan Markle, but it wasn't just Meghan Markle. It was other people who had concerns.
Ernest, you do have to be careful when you spew more lies, unfortunately, because 57,000 people...
Weren't you not spewing lies?
I'm about to
Fox
explain
News?
What you just said was wrong, a lie. 57,000...
Or you're going to give your interpretation.
If you're going to let me answer the question, 57,000...
Go ahead, Piers.
Ernest, 57,000 people complained to Ofcom, the TV regulator, and guess what?
Correct.
5 months later, every one of the complaints was thrown out, and Ofcom found in my favour to have my right to free speech and freedom of expression. But I come back to my initial point about you. You repeatedly tweeted to many people that I'm a racist, and I'm simply asking you to name one single comment... Ernest, one single comment I've ever made...
between racist comments?
So, did I say a racist tirade? What was it?
I felt like your attacking of Meghan Markle was racially biased.
Oh, you felt like
and
it?
I believe
you felt like it was your feeling?
I felt that way.
It was your feeling that I'm a racist, was it?
I felt like what you did was racially insensitive. I never said verbatim on Twitter that you were a racist. I said you made racist
actually,
remarks.
You just said enjoying how folks keep getting Piers Morgan together for his racist tirades. We're actually looking at your tweet now, Ernest. And there were plenty more. In fact, while I'm talking to you, we'll dig the others out. Just go and dig them out, folks. Here's my point, Ernest. The reason that people think that I may have had a racist connotation to my criticism of Meghan Markle is because people like you, high-profile black people in America, kept saying that without any evidence. And now I've got you on my show, I'm finally able to ask you, why did you tell lies about me?
You're blaming the black guy?
I'm not blaming the black guy. I'm blaming you as a high-profile black man for claiming wrongly
Well,
and
yeah, you said
defensively
you're blaming the
that I
black
was
guy. You're blaming
racist
me as
in
a
my
high-profile black
motivation
person for what
towards
you
my
did.
criticism of Meghan Markle, which, to be clear, my criticism of her and Prince Harry is I think they both tell lies. They both recently said they didn't mean to call the royal family racist when
But
we
you
heard them
made
say
comments
it
about
with their
Meghan
own
Markle
mouths
that was
on
far
national
more-
television.
far
So
more
my point
atrocious
to
than
you,
what you
Ernest,
made
is
of
you can
Harry.
say these things. You can say these things on Twitter, but when you're actually
You
held
said
to
the
account
things you said
for
about
them,
Meghan Markle,
you
and look at the,
you don't
the
have
impact
any
that had on her
evidence
mental
to
health.
support
You
what
have
you're
a bigger
saying.
platform than me, and you've attacked Meghan Markle, and it's impacted her mental health. And I feel like someone like me, as a black person, defending her as an innocent black woman in that situation, I felt like I was standing up for her. You need to be accountable for your impact and your power.
Oh, I
You have a
stand by
big
everything I
platform,
said.
You have a big influence, and you're trying to play a victim.
I stand
in
by-
what you
oh,
did
I'm
to
not a
Meghan
victim.
Markle, and it was disrespectful.
No, Ernest, I'm not a victim and I'm not a
Are you a
racist.
victim? Are you a victim, Piers?
Ernest, I'm not a victim and I'm not a racist. I'm somebody who listened
never
to
called
that.
you racist. I said you made
listened to the
racist
Oprah
remarks.
Winfrey. Just let me finish speaking. I listened to the Oprah Winfrey show. I watched it, and I identified immediately a number of lies. And I said that on air the next morning. Other guests disagreed with me, and you were delighted about the way they came after me, and that's fine. But then you said I was racist repeatedly. That my
You said
criticism
other comments.
was racially
Hold on,
racially
Piers.
motivated.
You're being intellectually dishonest. You did not just say she was a liar. You questioned other aspects of her mental health.
No,
You
I said I
questioned
didn't
other
believe them.
aspects of it as offensive. Repeat what you said.
I said I didn't.
Repeat what you said.
I said I didn't believe her
Why?
because there is no evidence to support the claims that she made. She said she went to a
So
senior member.
her
I'm
expressing
about
what
to tell
happened
you,
to her, how
Ernest.
she felt, was no evidence?
Ernest, I'm about to tell you what I said. She said she went to a senior member of Buckingham Palace staff and said she was feeling suicidal, and that member of staff said she couldn't get help. That story doesn't reappear in Harry's 415-page book and has never been substantiated by anybody else, nor has it been repeated by Meghan Markle.
You didn't know that when you said that.
I'm
though,
afraid...
but you did not know that when you said
Sorry,
that.
I didn't believe it. It didn't sound true. And by the way,
But why?
I'm allowed...
But why you didn't believe it?
Ernest,
Why?
Ernest...
You're allowed to. So you're allowed to believe that
Ernest,
she's lying, and I
I'm
can believe
allowed
that what
to
you said was
disbelieve
racially
her.
biased.
I'm allowed to disbelieve
And I'm
her.
allowed to believe
I'm allowed
that
to
what you
disbelieve
said
Prince
was
Harry.
racially biased.
And I'm also allowed to disbelieve you when you call me a racist, because it's wrong. And you shouldn't do it.
I said that you made racist remarks. I did not call you racist, Piers. You're trying to make yourself a martyr in a situation that you started. You didn't have to go disrespectful below the belt with Meghan. You chose to do that. And now you're mad because other people disagree
criticise
with
her
you.
for what I thought was a disgusting attack on the British royal family.
You
Yeah, I
made
did.
ad hominem attacks against her character. You assassinated her character before the British press, and you know how the
And
tabloids
by
have
the way,
been towards
I've
her.
been just as
You
scathing-
understood what you were doing.
I've been just as scathing, if not more so, against Prince Harry, who I actually think is more to blame.
Didn't you? Now, I want to know if this is true. Riddle me this. Wasn't there a point in time where at least you tried to pursue a relationship with her? You all had
Absolute
history
nonsense.
before all of this happened?
No, absolute nonsense.
that was
another
nonsense?
lie. It's another lie. I met her once in my
Okay.
life.
Okay.
Okay, what do you mean, okay? We found more tweets while we were
I
talking
just
to you of
asked.
you calling me a British media racist darling. What does that mean, Ernest? What does that mean?
It means that you have recently chosen, lately in your career, for whatever reason, you went the road of basically baiting into a lot of the biased coverage of Meghan Markle. And a lot of
Absolutely.
it has
You see,
been
this is
racist
the problem,
attacks. A lot of it
Ernest.
has been targeted towards her in a biased way. And come on, can you admit that the coverage around Meghan Markle has been racially biased? Can you
No,
admit that?
absolutely not.
Not talking
No.
about your work.
No, I think
but
it's
in
good.
general.
I think it's another load of absolute hogwash. Nonsense.
So you're dismissing the role of race in all of this. You don't think none of this has a role
I'm
in
saying
any
the
of the coverage
British
she's been getting?
media, the British media has never been racist about Meghan Markle. And it
Okay,
never-
that's just a lie.
And
We're
it's not a
going
lie.
to agree to disagree.
It's not
We're
a lie.
going to
It's
agree
a
to
fact.
disagree.
It's a fact.
No, it's not.
What is a
No,
lie?
it's not.
What is a lie, Ernest, is you telling people repeatedly, I'm a racist, and then you can't produce any evidence other than
I
it's your
said
feeling.
you made a racist tirade.
Yeah.
And you're offended, but here's the
I'm
thing:
not
you're
offended.
blaming me for the criticism.
I'm not offended,
You said
Ernest.
you're
I'm
blaming
just
me as a
calling out-
high influential black
I'm
person,
calling
a black
out your
American,
lies, and by the
for
way,
why
it has
people are
nothing
questioning
again-
you. You're blaming me for your criticism.
It has nothing to do with your skin colour, Ernest. I don't care.
But you
I
literally
care
said
when
you
you
said I was
lie.
a black influential person. You named my race. You said you're a black influential person, and that's why
Yes.
people thought that way.
I think when
so why
high
did you bring
profile,
my race into it?
I think when high-profile black people like you go public on Twitter.
Okay,
and-
high-profile
Sorry,
black people
go-
like me.
like
Go
you,
ahead.
go public on Twitter and call me a racist. People
Like you went public on Meghan Markle. Continue.
People believe it. And you know what? It's a
And people
sickening
believe what you said about
lie.
Meghan Markle or no?
It's a lie. Anyway, we've got to leave it there, and it's been lovely catching up with you.